Starting a drone business is like starting any other business. Where is your hungry audience? What problem are you really solving for your audience? And how do you price your services so they're competitive? But also, how do you promote the special secret sauce for your drone business? Now, one thing I recommend you do is go and download the Business Model Canvas. I think that's what it's called, from Strategyzer. I've used it a ton for a load of businesses that I've started. I was first introduced to it when I was doing a startup course at Flinders University. It has been invaluable at just kind of getting your mind around all of the key aspects of starting a drone business. But really it comes down to, what problem are you solving for people? And the thing is that as drone technology is getting more and more affordable for more people, there are more people going, I can send my drone up into the air and earn money. And I think the competition has pushed the prices down, the quality down. So if you can get your quality up, I think there's a way of kind of finding a niche still in the drone field. Even me, like I produced a LinkedIn vlog, and I did drone videos during the vlog, like as B-roll footage every single day for about a year. And I had a number of people who came to me and said, how much would you charge to come and get some drone footage of this for me? And look, to be honest with you, that wasn't what I was interested in at the time, but it just goes to show there are people out there looking for drone pilots, and all you have to do is, I guess, prove that you know what you're doing, that you can get the goods, and that you're solving one of their biggest problems, which could be, in different fields. It's not just photography, it's like security, it's drone inspections like for roofs, solar panel inspections. Like there are a ton of problems you can actually solve with a drone, and we'll go through some of those now. So let's have a look. Can you start a drone business, and is it worth it? This video is based on an article on droneflyingpro.com. I'll put a link in the descriptions, but also if this video is useful to you, please remember to give it a thumbs up, because that helps the algorithm, helps me help more people. That would be awesome and greatly appreciated. But if you want more information, the article is full of links, full of more information than I could squeeze into this video, so go check it out. Okay, when you first kind of start thinking about doing a business, forget all of the kind of like, where's the audience, all of that stuff. Like, what does it cost to start a drone business? Like that will really give you an idea on what sort of return you need to make it worth it. And so I went through on the article, and I'll go through now, all of the different things that I think you need to start a drone business. So first of all, obviously you need a drone. Now you don't need the best drone on the market. You just need a drone that can take photos and videos, and maybe if you want to get into the construction side of things, or like the roof inspection side of things, you should get one with an infrared camera. And so these vary. I bought my second-hand drone for about $800, and I believe now that drone goes new for about $800 US, but you can get anywhere, drones can be $2,000, $4,000, and the super awesome cinema ones, can be like $30,000. So really, the startup costs should be kept low. You can buy a second-hand drone, and as long as it does, I think, 4K footage, so that means you can zoom in post-production on whatever you're investigating, or you can crop it, or it gives you a little bit of an error bar if you are doing photography and videos. But essentially, yes, make sure you get yourself a good quality camera drone and any extra modules that you need for the area that you're going into. And that can be anywhere, like I said, from like $800 to tens of thousands of dollars. The next thing you need is insurance. So check with your local jurisdiction of what you need. Licenses as well. Like, do you need a license to fly the type of drone that you want to fly? The DJI Mavic Mini 2 is a fantastic drone if you want to get around any licensing issues in the US or Spain or the EU. But in Australia at the moment where I'm based, you don't need to register drones under 2.5 kilograms. But you do have to do like an online course, and that takes like half an hour, and it's completely fine. You get a license for 3 years. And then website. So how are you going to market yourself? You don't necessarily need a website, but you definitely need like website, YouTube channel, some branding, some logos, marketing, all of that kind of goes into making people trust you when they've got no reason to trust you, ultimately, when it comes down to promoting and marketing your skills. If you don't have any customers with word of mouth or testimonials, you really need to go out and get those. Even if you do a bit of free work for someone, it really adds a lot to a website. And then software, post-production, like I use the Adobe Creative Suite. It sucks that it's a subscription service and I have to pay every year for it, but it really just does work well together. So I use After Effects and Premiere Pro together, and then if I want to do any logo stuff, Illustrator, but I do really like Inkscape as a free version of vector graphics for logo software. And look, all of this can be anywhere between like $3,000, depending on how much you can do on your own, all the way up to many tens of thousands of dollars. And so, that's the startup cost. And that is ultimately what you need to get a return on your investment on. The more you can do in startup land on your own, i.e. your own websites, your own logo, done is better than perfect when you're starting a business. That will cut costs, which means you'll be making profit much sooner. But remember that you are still selling your time for money. If you're providing a drone service, unless you've got a team of people out there getting the footage or doing the jobs for you, you are selling your time for money. So you do have to take that into account, that there's going to be a natural ceiling to how much you can earn with this drone business, because you've only got a number of hours by the time you go to a site, collect the footage, come back, edit it, send it off to the client. That's all of that time needs to be factored into the pricing. And then maybe in the future, to make your drone service more scalable, you can add extra software services which don't cost anything to scale, or you can employ more people so they're going out and doing the work while you are looking after the business side of things. So that's a little bit later. In the early days, get as much done as you can yourself. That will keep the startup costs low. Okay, now you need to recoup your costs. What should you charge? And ultimately, that depends on where you are and what the current rate is. Online I've seen, it can be anywhere between $150 to $200 an hour. And in my experience, that is not the case. The case is much lower. You've got people that are willing to go out and do different photography with their drone for much, much less. And so, anywhere between about $25 an hour all the way up to $150 US dollars an hour if you are doing something a little bit more specialized. And that's when you can start to look at the return on investment of like optional modules. So Parrot and Affy do a thermal drone. So if you want to do roof inspections and that sort of stuff, that could up the rate, because it's something that not a lot of people have. And per day packages is completely up to you, but $1,000 per day. But then once you take into account all of the software and the petrol and the travel costs, it may not be much net profit for you at the end. So yes, pricing is very important. And in the early days, I'm always hesitant when I start a business to price myself low, because that's the sort of customers you will attract. So you'll attract the customers that want a budget version of someone else's really expensive thing. They tend to be the most annoying customers. They tend to be the customers who don't understand they're getting a good deal. And so I've actually had much better luck looking for much more sort of expensive services, and then the customers go, yeah, great, tick it off and move on. Whereas if you're getting these people that are sort of micromanaging their money, they do tend to expect a lot more from the services. So don't go too low. Don't just be like, I can do it cheaper than everyone else, because that's the sort of customers you will always attract, and they're not always the best customers. Okay, now you've got to go out and find these customers. What have you got? You can use a website. So you can start a website and start driving traffic to that website through blog articles, through other bits of content. Getting search engine optimization down, I think, is so important for a website. I've got 2 websites at the moment, and I drive traffic to them using blog articles, long form, informative blog articles, targeting questions that I know people are asking. And after only a year, I'm getting 10,000 page views a month, and I'm still seeing that climb, because I've still got about 120 articles that are really young, and so we need to push them and wait for them to get more mature so Google trusts them and sends traffic my way. So I'm hopeful that there's a lot of growth in those channels in the future, and I'm seeing an exponential growth. So there's one way. YouTube is great. So once again, get on YouTube, put out samples of your work, put in samples like, go check out my other video where I say how to sell your drone footage. But put in Adelaide, so that's where I'm based at the moment, Adelaide drone stock footage, and then in the description put for business inquiries, contact me. That's a really great way because that's up there forever. It's kind of evergreen marketing content for you. Word of mouth. So in the early days, go out and try to get those customers. Maybe you do have to do a freebie, but don't rely on freebies, but then ask them for testimonials and they'll tell people and all that sort of stuff. So that's great. And canvassing your local area. So this is where you can start to think, well, who actually needs my drone services? Is it construction? Is it wedding photography? Is it just agriculture? Is it photography in general? All of these things will enable you, all of these questions will enable you to kind of hone in and find a niche where there's a bit of a gap where you can find yourself. And look, one thing I've learned about business is you've got to stay agile. And you've got to kind of find out what's working, and every so often do a 20-80 what do they call it, like analysis, where you try to work out what 20% of your effort is resulting in approximately 80% of the results, and double down on that area. And I'm sure that you'll be able to find a niche for your drone business that isn't completely saturated. Whether or not it's worth starting a drone business for you is really dependent on how dedicated you are and how you are willing to remain agile and adjust to market changes and feedback. And everyone thinks that kind of starting a business is linear, is like you start here and you earn money, but in fact it's much more exponential in my experience, where you don't earn much but you're putting in a load of effort early on and then it sort of spikes later on. So one thing I learned recently, which I really like, is be impatient with actions but patient with results. You have to enable your timeline to be flexible, because you'll be dealing with lots of market forces that are outside of your control. And as long as you are still around, still capable of delivering that service when someone comes and knocks on your door and says, yes, I'm ready for that service, then yes, you do have to just keep going. There's a lot of ups and downs when starting a business. I've started about 3 or 4 now. Some of them have done much better than others. And essentially it's just about making sure that you are responsive to the demands of the market, and that you can kind of spot opportunities and run a load of tests. Like, try things. If it doesn't work, no worries. You've learned what doesn't work. Move on, refocus, regroup, and move forward. And so failure is important. Failure isn't terminal for the business. It just means that you just have to carry on. Failure is only permanent if you allow it to be. You just got to pick yourself up and carry on. And obviously there's a load of luck, there's a load of privilege and everything that's sort of like wrapped up in this kind of business success world. But getting through the ups and downs and being there to deliver a good service when people are ready for it will be kind of the only thing that in the long term will dictate your success. So there we have it. Is a drone business worth it? Well, it can be if you're willing to work hard on it, if you're willing to push through the ups and downs. In general, the startup cost for a drone business is relatively low, and you can sort of recoup the cost on your investment early on. You've got to think about the amount of time that you put into this sort of stuff as well. But ultimately, a drone business can be worth it if you are looking at the right niche, you know where your hungry customers are, you're solving a significant problem for them at the right price, and you can do that at scale. And that's no different to any other sort of business. But the good thing about drones is that it can be a really awesome business because you can get out. It's not sat behind a desk all the time. You're normally going into some cool places, meeting some nice people, and that in itself, can be a bit of a lifestyle business as well for you. So there we are. Let me know in the comments what you think about starting a drone business. What have I missed? And I shall see you in the next video.